Leo posted an Instagram story, a picture and a caption. So grateful to the boss for the birthday celebration. Leo is my wife's assistant. The photo was of him and Audrey, my wife. Today is Leo's birthday. It's also my birthday. I'd arranged it with Audrey weeks ago. I asked her to clear her schedule, to just spend the day with me. She said she was too busy. Seeing the post uploaded a minute ago, I called her. Where are you? My tone was sharp. Still mad. Audrey's voice came through the receiver. Is a birthday really that big a deal? You know how critical this growth phase is for the company. I'm in Chicago meeting with the Walton account. I can't make it back. Right, you do that. I hung up and zoomed in on Leo's picture. I recognized the restaurant immediately. I was going to pay them a visit. I wanted to see just how Audrey would explain her way out of this train wreck. On a quiet street in Greenwich Village, there's an unmarked door that leads to a small, private restaurant. It's not open to the public. It's a sanctuary that belongs only to Audrey and me. When we were happy, we'd come here to eat. When we were stressed, we'd come here to decompress. The owner, Sal, was a master of his craft, creating dishes that seemed to understand our very souls. Eating Sal's cooking was our way of drawing a line between us and the rest of the world. This was our haven. I never brought friends here. Audrey never brought friends here. It was our unspoken rule. But tonight, she'd broken it. The picture Leo posted was taken right here. He was sitting in my usual spot. I drove over and parked down the block, spotting Audrey's car. So this was her being busy. I sat in my car for a long time, a sharp pain mingling with a cold rage in my chest. It seemed that as the Miller family's influence had surged over the past few years, Audrey had started to forget who I was. Well, it was time to remind her that the man her family once depended on wasn't quite so obsolete. I got out and walked toward the discreet entrance. This one's amazing. And this one's not bad either, Leo was saying, critiquing the dishes on the table. He pointed a thumb at Sal, who was standing quietly to the side. Hey, Sal, the dishes I just mentioned, make another round of them. To go. Sal's expression soured. Even I, a patron of years, addressed him with respect. And I would never dream of ordering him around like that. In Sal's own words, cooking was an art form. What he made and how he made it depended on his mood. He always managed to surprise me. He never made the same dish twice in exactly the same way, always finding a new variation, a new twist. Sal looked at Audrey, holding his tongue out of respect for her. Leo likes it. Get done, Audrey said, her tone flat. Get what done? I asked, stepping through the door. When she saw me, Audrey's face froze, a flicker of panic in her eyes. Mr. Hayes. Leo scrambled to his feet. I was just hoping Sal could make some extra for me to take home to my dad. And who the hell is your dad that he deserves to taste Sal's cooking? Leo was clearly stunned by my bluntness. He shot an awkward glance at Audrey, hoping she'd intervene. Audrey had never seen me like this either. After a moment of silence, she looked at Leo. Why don't you step outside for a minute? Leo nodded, then glanced back at me. Mr. Hayes, I'll just be going then. I ignored him. As Leo scurried away, Sal looked at me. I've been working on a new recipe for cacio e pepe, your favorite. Let me get started. I looked at Sal. I'll eat in the kitchen with you in a bit. Sal nodded, saying nothing more. He closed the door behind him as he left. Only then did Audrey speak. Don't you think what you just said was completely out of line? I sat down, my eyes fixed on her. Out of line? Lying about a business trip to celebrate your assistant's birthday. Is that your definition of out of line? Or do you really think that with my power and influence, me dressing down some kid named Leo is crossing a line? You want to see what out of line looks like? Don't you dare. There's nothing going on between us, Audrey said quickly. She continued, Leo grew up without a mother. He's from a single-parent home. He starved for that kind of female affection because he never had it. He told me I remind him of the mother he barely remembers, that he's never had his mother with him for his birthday. As his boss, I thought it was a small kindness to celebrate with him. My face was stone. I've heard of sugar daddies, but I didn't realize you had a thing for playing mommy. Preston Hayes, don't you think that's a disgusting thing to say? You do something disgusting, and you expect me to use pretty words. I could feel my control slipping, but I forced my voice to remain level. Fine, let's not talk about it. If you're so desperate for a thrill, let's get a divorce. The word divorce seemed to strike a nerve. Her eyes welled up. I just had dinner with him. You don't have to blow this completely out of proportion, do you? Today is also my birthday. You made your choice, didn't you? Audrey looked down. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. Fire him. He's a dedicated and hard-working employee. You're always talking about giving new talent a chance. You want to fire him just because I had one meal with him? That's not fair. I promise I won't have any private contact with him again. It will be strictly professional. See you at the courthouse. Tomorrow, and I stood up, done with the conversation. The truth was, I knew she had made her choice the moment she decided to have dinner with Leo. She chose him over me. And now, she was still defending him. There was no point in continuing this marriage. I just wanted to give a promising, new hire a chance. Audrey stood up to block my path. I'll transfer him to a branch office. He shouldn't have to bear the consequences alone just because I had dinner with him. If I really fire him, what will people say? She grabbed my hand. You're just overthinking this. I really just felt sorry for him. We don't have kids yet. I guess my maternal instincts kicked in. How about we make a baby tonight? Not in the mood. What do you want from me? You're really going to divorce me over one dinner with Leo? Don't you have any trust in me at all? What is this place? My voice grew colder. No third person has ever set foot in here. This is our private world. Our sanctuary. It's a place no outsider is ever allowed to enter. And you brought Leo here for dinner. You crossed a line. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking. Please don't be angry. Sal said he's making your favorite pasta. Let's go try it. I'll never, ever bring anyone here again. I promise. Sal's pasta was, as always, perfect, but did nothing to quell the rage simmering inside me. I was still furious, like an animal whose territory had been invaded, leaving me agitated and hostile. I didn't want Audrey near me. The sight of her made my stomach turn. Sal sat with me, and we shared a couple of glasses of whiskey in silence. Forgive me for saying so, Sal said, looking at me, but the rumors floating around about the Hayes family are not good. I suggest you keep things solid with Ms. Miller. If Hayes Corp really runs into trouble, the Miller family could be a lifeline. I downed half a glass of whiskey. Sal, why do you think Audrey feels brave enough to act like this now? Sal went quiet. He understood. Audrey's behavior was a direct result of those rumors. Hayes Corp was on the verge of collapse, and she was starting to show her claws. I spoke again. If those rumors are confirmed, she wouldn't have apologized tonight, and the divorce wouldn't have been my idea. Sal remained silent, knowing I was right. He drained his glass. People change. If you hadn't pulled her family out of the fire, the Millers would be ancient history by now. I managed a faint smile. If I can build them up, I can tear them down. Sal just looked at me, probably thinking it was wishful thinking. All the talk on the street pointed to the end of the Hayes dynasty. A lot of people were waiting to see us fall. I didn't bother explaining. A decision was slowly forming in my mind. I would use this incident with Audrey to show everyone exactly what would and would not happen to the Hayes family. When I got home, Audrey was uncharacteristically proactive. She was wearing something silky and tempting from La Perla, but I felt nothing. For the first couple of years of our marriage, she had tried everything to please me. Back then, her family needed my help, needed the backing of my corporation. But in the last 2 years, since the Millers had climbed out of the mud and started their meteoric rise, she'd stopped trying. I was tired of being the only one making an effort, and the rare times she did agree, she was like a dead fish. Sometimes I even disgusted myself. But it's easy to forgive yourself. Forgiving others is harder. Our relationship had been fractured for a long time, and tonight shattered what was left. Faced with her sudden affection, I simply refused. I went to the guest bedroom upstairs and locked the door. Lying in bed, I realized Audrey and I had been sleeping in separate rooms for 2 years. The last time we'd been intimate was 6 months ago. It used to be her locking the door. Tonight it was me. The next morning, she did something she hadn't done in years. She made breakfast and was already sitting at the table waiting for me. I ate a few bites in silence. I could tell she was looking for an opening to talk, but my silence kept her at bay. Around noon, I got a call from her mother, saying it had been too long and that we should come over for dinner that night. She gave me a reason I couldn't refuse. My own parents would be there. I knew Audrey must have called her, trying to use our families to smooth things over. The cracks in our marriage hadn't formed overnight. Her dinner with Leo was just the spark that lit the fuse. But I'd spent all night thinking. Divorcing her over a single dinner did seem a bit childish. I decided I would see how she behaved from here on out. That evening at dinner, Audrey handed a proposal to my father. Dad, take a look at this. It's the plan for the Hudson Yards South project. My father took the binder and read through it carefully. Not bad. Very innovative. If the project follows this plan, we could maximize profits significantly. I'll take this with me tonight and give it a closer look. Audrey smiled. Dad, you can't just look at it. This project can't move forward without your support. I saw it clearly then. My family still had value to her. Our influence was crucial for the Hudson Yards South project. That was the real reason she didn't dare to completely burn the bridge with me. I didn't say much during dinner, not breathing a word about the conflict between us. The meal was lively, the atmosphere pleasant, but only Audrey and I knew we were just playing our parts. I had a little to drink, so she drove on the way back. Leo was the one who drafted that proposal, she said. Even your father approved of it. His work ethic is outstanding. He's a real talent. I only treated him to dinner because I wanted to keep him with the company. There was truly nothing else to it. I thought tonight's dinner was about fixing our relationship. I guess I was wrong. This is about you not wanting to fire him, isn't it? Preston, you are being so incredibly stubborn. I'm just trying to retain a valuable asset for the company. He may be a recent graduate, but other firms are already trying to poach him. That kind of talent requires special treatment to keep. So if he told you he'd only stay with the company if you left me for him, would you do that too? You're being irrational. Audrey's face hardened. If I fire him, we can't use this proposal. I don't know how I'd explain that to your father. You can tell him. Huh. I laughed internally. So that was her game. Talent? What a joke. Top-tier graduates pour out of universities every year. This world has never had a shortage of talent. What's in short supply are platforms. Since she wanted to play games, it was time she remembered exactly who Preston Hayes was. It was time to see if I still had any say, even with her family's newfound power. The next morning, I went to the office. She wouldn't fire Leo, so I would. At 9:30, I was sipping tea in my office, admiring the river view, when the door was thrown open. Audrey stormed in and slammed a contract down on my desk. Preston, what is the meaning of this? I told you he was a talent. I already showed the proposal he created to your father. Why did you still fire him? Preston, what is the meaning of this? I told you he was a talent. I already showed the proposal he created to your father. Why did you still fire him? Audrey, do you really think I don't see your little game? When you showed my father that proposal yesterday, why didn't you mention it was Leo's? Even if you'd scribbled nonsense in that binder, my father would have praised it because you're a Hayes daughter-in-law. Did you really think his plan was that brilliant? I tossed a file in front of her. Take a closer look at this. Audrey picked up the proposal I'd thrown at her. It was the same one she'd given my father, but now it was covered in red ink. The red lines are corrections. The parts that are circled are complete garbage. Ideas that are fundamentally at odds with the entire Hudson Yards project. And you had the nerve to show this to my father? All those other proposals you've given him over the years, the ones that came back to you approved, they were all revised. By me. My father asked me to help you revise this one, too. I can't say whether Leo is a talent or not, but your competence as a chairman is definitely up for debate. Audrey didn't back down. Even if Leo's proposal isn't perfect, it has merit. He has fresh ideas. The company needs people like him. Preston, I expect you to rehire Leo immediately. And don't forget, you're the vice chairman of the Miller Group. I am the chairman. As vice chairman, you have no authority to fire my assistant. And if I don't rehire him, my voice was cold, my eyes locked on hers. With the Miller family's growing power, it seemed Audrey had done a lot of thinking these past 2 days. Now, I just have to see if she would be the one to mention divorce. She didn't. She just spun around and stormed out. Just as I expected. My family still had its uses. She wasn't ready to give up that leverage just yet. But clearly, she had no intention of letting me off easy. She retaliated with something even more outrageous, a calculated move to provoke me, to test my limits one more time. Leo posted on social media again. It's official. So grateful for the vote of confidence from a boss. Before this, Leo had just been an intern. The photo was of a signed, official employment contract. The location tag was Sal's. Audrey obviously knew exactly how to twist the knife. She had taken him back there again. This time, I didn't call. Some things only need to happen once. The first time I called, there was still a sliver of hope in my heart. Not anymore. I didn't call her, but my phone rang anyway. It was Sal. Preston, I wasn't going to make this call, but I thought about it, and you need to know. I'm leaving. Leaving? Sal, what do you mean you're leaving? I'm tired. I want to see the world. Someone else can take over the restaurant. Sal, I understand. I'll make sure you get justice for the disrespect you've been shown. Preston, it's not what you think. I'm just tired. Don't let this affect your relationship with the chairman. After hanging up, I drove straight to the restaurant. Inside, I only saw Leo. When he saw me, he shot up from his chair. Mr. Hayes, it was Ms. Miller who said my proposal was excellent. She wanted to make me a permanent employee. It wasn't my idea, I swear. There's nothing going on between us. I didn't have time for him. Where's Audrey? That old guy. Sal, he wasn't happy with me. Said he didn't feel like cooking for us, and just left. Ms. Miller said she'd cook for me herself. I couldn't stop her. His posture was submissive, but his tone held a barely concealed note of triumph. Audrey was cooking for Leo. She wasn't even pretending anymore. Just as I was about to go find her, the sound of heels clicking on the floor approached. Mr. Hayes, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. Please don't hit me. Leo suddenly cried out, then grabbed a wine bottle and smashed it over his own head. Blood trickled down his temple. Bold move. Preston, that's enough. Audrey, holding a plate of food, screamed at me. You will apologize to Leo right now. Leo? Getting awfully familiar, aren't we? I walked over and picked up the bottle from the floor. It wasn't broken. Crack. I brought it down hard on Leo's head. Now you can scream. Preston, don't you think you're acting like a tyrant? Audrey glared at me. Mr. Hayes, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I was wrong. Leo whimpered, bent over, playing the victim to win Audrey's sympathy. You did nothing wrong, Audrey said, rushing over to support the wobbling Leo. I'm taking you to the hospital. And trust me, this is not over. I sat alone in the empty restaurant and dialed my father's number. Dad, I've had enough. My father said nothing, so I continued. For the last 2 years, as the Miller business has boomed, the distance between Audrey and me has grown. The other day, on my birthday, she spent it with a subordinate who shares the same birthday, instead of coming home to me. I made a scene, so today, she personally cooked a meal for him. I think the Millers have forgotten their place. Just give me the word, my father said. 4 simple words. My mood lifted instantly. Break their wings. Let them fall. Not long after I hung up, Audrey called. She told me to meet her at the courthouse. Half an hour later, we met outside the entrance. Audrey had changed her clothes. She stood there, proud as a swan. Leo was with her, a bandage wrapped around his head, but his eyes, when they met mine, were full of defiance. In this battle for her affection, he believed he had won. But would someone like Audrey really act on emotion alone? She looked down at me with an air of superiority. Preston Hayes, it seems you still don't grasp the situation. The Hayes family is about to collapse. I'm giving you one last chance. Get on your knees and apologize to Leo right now, and maybe we don't have to get this divorce. Leo, no longer playing the victim, stood tall beside her. Preston, Audrey and I just got the news. Hayes Corp is finished. Kneel and apologize. It's your only way out. I didn't say a word. I just walked straight into the courthouse. Audrey froze. She hadn't expected me to be so resolute. From the intel she had, the fall of the Hayes family was a sure thing. I should be clinging to her as my last lifeline. If I begged her, she could leverage the situation, maximize my family's remaining value, and propel the Miller family to even greater heights. My decisiveness was not part of her plan. Leo whispered to her, he's bluffing. If you go in, he'll crack. Audrey had to follow, letting me see that she didn't actually want the divorce, it would only complicate things further. But from start to finish, she never saw my resolve waver. The process was quick. 10 minutes later, we walked out, each holding a divorce decree. Leo rushed forward. Congratulations, Ms. Miller. You're free. Audrey reached out and caressed Leo's cheek. Does it still hurt? Leo's voice trembled with excitement. Not all. It doesn't hurt one bit. He stared directly at me as he said it. Come on, Audrey said. Let's go celebrate. Audrey took Leo's hand and walked toward her car. I turned in the opposite direction. 2 people who had once shared a bed were now walking away from each other. Audrey was still waiting for me to beg. She was counting silently in her head, but I never said a word. Just as I was about to open my car door, she spun around. Preston Hayes, you will come back crawling to me. I glanced at my watch and smiled. Your phone should be ringing any second now. She looked startled, and right on cue, her phone rang. Audrey, the news about Hayes Corp collapsing. It's fake. Her father's first words left her frozen in place. How could it be fake? She had confirmed it through multiple sources. Her father's voice continued, frantic. It was a deliberate leak by the Hayes family to root out problems within their own company. You need to cut ties with that Leo kid immediately. Don't let Preston find out anything is wrong. Hanging up, Audrey glared at me. Preston, even now, you refuse to back down? How long has it been since we had a real conversation? We've been sleeping in separate rooms for nearly 2 years. Did you think that wasn't a problem? I deliberately used Leo to make you angry, and you'd rather get a divorce than bend, even a little? Tears streamed down her face. You're so damn arrogant. I just wanted you to give in once. I know I can be difficult sometimes, that I can be unreasonable. But a home is supposed to be about love, not about being right. As a man, couldn't you have been a little more forgiving? She hurried toward me. You wouldn't bend, so I did. I just wanted to use Leo to get a reaction out of you. I never thought you'd actually go through with the divorce. Leo, get over here and explain to Mr. Hayes. I just hired you to deliberately make him mad. There's nothing between us. Leo hadn't heard the details of the phone call, but he could tell from Audrey's reaction that something had gone terribly wrong. He rushed over. Mr. Hayes, it's true. Ms. Miller approached me a while back and asked if I could help her. When I heard it was about a problem in your marriage, I agreed. If you don't believe me, we have recordings and videos of our conversation. Audrey added desperately. That's right. To make sure you wouldn't misunderstand when I explained, I recorded everything when I talked to Leo. My expression didn't change. I was laughing on the inside. The deliberate leak about my family's company wasn't about an internal cleanup. It was about my marriage. Some couples stick together through thick and thin. Others fly their separate ways at the first sign of trouble. I was about to take over the Hayes family business, and my choice of a partner was paramount. Seeing my silence, Audrey clutched my hand, her voice thick with grievance. "You don't believe me?" I pulled my hand away, took out my phone, and played a video. "Why don't you watch this first?" Audrey took my phone. As she watched the screen, the color drained from her face. Her office was on the top floor of the corporate tower, a private space no one could enter without permission. It was completely secure, a place where she thought no one would ever know what she was doing. The video showed her and Leo all over each other. "So, you were acting in front of me," I said, my voice dripping with scorn, "but the show continued behind my back when you thought no one was watching?" The woman in front of me was repulsive. "Preston, you bastard. You put a camera in my office. You, a cheater who betrayed our marriage. You think you have any right to judge me?" I snatched the phone back and turned to leave. Just as I got in my car, Audrey's cold voice cut through the air. "Preston Hayes, don't think the Miller family can't survive without you. The only reason I gave you a chance, the only reason I wanted to maintain this marriage, was because of the Hudson Yards project. But now that we're divorced, we'll just drop the project. The Hayes family doesn't have the resources to handle it alone anyway. We'll see about that." I got in my car, but didn't leave right away. The next act was about to begin. Sure enough, Audrey's phone rang again. She answered it, her expression growing darker by the second. It wasn't just the Hudson Yards project. Numerous partners were terminating their contracts with the Miller Group. The banks were calling too. Not only had their recent loan applications been denied, but several banks were now demanding immediate repayment of existing debts. What truly terrified Audrey, however, was the news that a team of federal auditors had just entered the Miller Group headquarters and frozen all company assets. This was the prelude to a storm, and a wave of dread washed over her. "Are you saying the Vance family is involved too?" Audrey asked, her voice grim. "Yes. Aria Vance herself is leading the charge. She said she's doing it to settle a score for Preston Hayes. The four great families of New York society. The Hayes and the Vances were two of them. Just a short while ago, rumors were swirling that the Vances were planning a hostile takeover of Hayes Corp., that they were slowly bleeding us dry. Now Audrey finally understood. The Vances had been in on the act with my family all along. The Miller family couldn't handle one of them, let alone both. Audrey felt her world collapsing. She hung up and ran toward my car. I slammed my foot on the gas. The car shot forward. My window was down, and I turned my head to look at her. Audrey stared back, screaming, "Preston, let me explain." I didn't listen to her lies. I drove away. "Audrey!" Leo ran up to her. "You still have me." Slap. Audrey struck him across the face. "You're nothing. The person by my side could have been you. It could have been anyone. I just needed a prop to piss off Preston Hayes. Did you really think you were something special?" Audrey was never going to actually fall for Leo. She might play with him, but her real intention was to provoke me. With my family supposedly collapsing, she had deliberately used him to make me beg her, to make me concede more ground, to transfer Hayes' family assets to the Millers. My submission in exchange for her family's gain. Unfortunately for her, the plan had backfired spectacularly. In just a few hours, the Miller Group's market value had plummeted by tens of billions. And that was just the beginning. Audrey could feel the powerful forces moving against her, and she knew it was the Hayes and Vance families. Faced with their combined might, she was helpless. In that moment, she finally realized just how terrifyingly powerful the Hayes family truly was. And in that same moment, she realized her own profound stupidity. That evening, Audrey and her parents came to my family's home. When they saw who was already there, all three of them stiffened. Aria Vance was there, the Vance family heiress, 7 years younger than me. She had just graduated from college, a young woman who knew exactly what she wanted. I had saved her life once, and she had jokingly declared she would marry me to repay the debt. She was just a kid then, so I'd laughed it off. I never expected that the first thing she would do after graduating would be to come to my home and tell me to get a divorce. I hadn't installed a camera in Audrey's office. Aria had. The reason she'd pushed me to divorce Audrey was because she had seen them together and, furious on my behalf, had spent a fortune to get the office bugged. She secured the evidence first, then came to me and told me to end my marriage. Upon entering, Audrey shot a glare at Aria before fixing her eyes on me. "Preston, I'm pregnant. You're going to be a father." The words dropped like a bomb, instantly changing the atmosphere in the room. My parents had been hoping for a grandchild for years. In the beginning, Audrey had used her career as an excuse, saying she was too busy and that a pregnancy would interfere with her work. Later, as the Miller family's fortunes rose and my own family's seemed to decline, the topic of children was dropped entirely. In response to Audrey's announcement, it was Arya who spoke. How far along? A flicker of pride crossed Audrey's face. Almost 2 months. They say you shouldn't announce it too early, so I kept it secret. I was planning to surprise Preston. I guess it's not too late. Oh, Arya said, her gaze sharp. Is it Leo's? What did you say? Audrey snapped, then turned to me. Preston, are you just going to stand there while your wife is insulted like this? I remained silent. Arya continued. Preston hasn't touched you in 6 months, has he? Audrey's face grew even paler. She glared at me. Preston Hayes, are you really going to deny responsibility now? If you won't acknowledge this child, I'll go get an abortion right now. Better than to be humiliated by you people. No one could have predicted what Arya did next. She suddenly stood up and kicked Audrey squarely in the stomach. Arya had been kidnapped in middle school. I was the one who rescued her. After that, she dedicated herself to martial arts. The kick was powerful, sending Audrey stumbling back until she hit the wall. You want an abortion? I'll help you. As she spoke, Arya coldly picked up a golf club. Before Audrey's stunned parents could react, she swung it twice into Audrey's abdomen. Is it out yet? Enough! Audrey's father finally shouted. He wanted to intervene, but the thought of Arya's family held him back. Arya tossed the golf club aside. Wow, that's one tough baby, she sneered. Still hanging on after all that. Audrey's face was white as a sheet. She wasn't pregnant. There was nothing to miscarry. Preston, Audrey's father said, his voice trembling with rage, addressing my father. Audrey is still your daughter-in-law. Are you just going to watch her be abused like this? My mother spoke then. In the old days, a cheating woman like her would have been drowned in a pig cage. She should be grateful she lives in modern times. My mother's voice was frigid. The moment she learned of Audrey's betrayal, she had wanted to deal with her in a much harsher way. I had to stop her. Oomph. Audrey's father snorted. The Hayes family is powerful. This is just a classic case of trumping up charges to get what you want. I see you've been planning to ally with the Vancests through marriage all along. His voice grew colder. Preston, to think we were old army buddies. And you pull this kind of stunt on me. Aren't you disgusted with yourself? You shameless bastard. My mother stood up and threw a file in his face. See for yourself. The Miller family had once been on the brink of ruin. If not for my family's money and connections, there would have been history. Over the years, leveraging their relationship with us, their business practices had become increasingly dirty. Their partners constantly complained, and it was always us cleaning up their messes, compensating those partners to maintain the relationships. During that time, the Millers had repeatedly tried to poach our key partners, but their reputation was shot. Those partners came directly to us and told us everything. Because of my marriage to Audrey, my parents had chosen to turn a blind eye. Seeing the contents of the file, Audrey's father had nothing left to say, but his face remained cold. Preston, do you think your family is so clean? I have some things, you know. If you won't leave the Millers' way out, then let's go down together. So, give me a straight answer now. Let them remarry, and we'll pretend none of this ever happened. Otherwise, let's see who breaks first. My father looked at him. When you say you have some things, are you referring to the times you tried to record my son after getting him drunk? Ever since the Millers had risen to power, they had started playing games, trying to get leverage over us. Audrey's father had invited me over for drinks many times, trying to get information out of me when he thought my guard was down, asking increasingly outrageous questions the drunker he thought I was. Audrey's father's face was grim. To achieve great things, one can't be bothered by trivialities. Since you know, you'd better give me a satisfactory answer tonight. My father didn't reply. He simply stood up and left the room, returning moments later with 2 bottles of high-proof whiskey. I didn't say a word either. I just opened the bottles. As Audrey's family watched, I drank both of them. Straight. Only then did my father speak. Does he look drunk to you? At our level, you have to be prepared for anything, especially at social gatherings. Preston began specialized training for this when he was 6. I wouldn't say he can't get drunk, but he can handle a gallon of whiskey without breaking a sweat. My father narrowed his eyes at Audrey's father. At your place, what's the most he's ever had? Was it a gallon? The color drained from Audrey's father's face. He knew then that whatever evidence he thought he had was information I had deliberately fed him. It was all a fabrication. Today, my father continued, I'll give you some real leverage. He looked at me. I snapped my fingers. Leo was dragged into the room. He was covered in blood. He felt his knees in front of me. Mr. Hayes, I was wrong. I was so wrong. Please spare me. I pulled a trash bag over Leo's head, then picked up the golf club Arya had dropped. Watch closely. Feel free to take out your phones and record this. My voice was ice. I swung the golf club down hard on Leo's head. Once, twice. until Leo's muffled pleas stopped. The reason I'd stopped my mother from using her methods was because some things you have to do yourself. If you fall out of love, you get a divorce. But betrayal during a marriage is unforgivable. Audrey and her family stared at Leo's motionless form, terrified. They tried to leave, but several large men blocked the doorway. Preston, what is the meaning of this? Audrey's father stared at my father, his voice trembling. We were comrades in arms. Yes, my father said. Comrades in arms. My father's face hardened. Do you remember that time on the battlefield when I took a bullet for you? What I didn't realize until later, when a war photographer's pictures were published, was that even if I hadn't moved to shield you, the bullet would have hit you. The photo caught the exact moment. You were reaching out, trying to pull me in front of you. My good comrade. And another thing. 2 years ago, my wife and I were almost killed in a car accident. The investigation revealed the brake lines had been tampered with. If our driver hadn't fought for control with all his might, if he hadn't chosen to slam the car into the side of the mountain, we would be dead. A head-on collision with that rock face. The chance of the driver surviving was almost zero. Any normal person would have swerved in the other direction, and the car would have plunged off the cliff, just as you intended. You never expected the driver would choose to die just so I could live. He yelled one thing before he died. I'm not done living. My father stood up and took the golf club from my hand. Over the past few days, I finally tracked down the person who sabotaged that car. My good comrade, forgive me, please forgive me. Audrey's father dropped to his knees, begging. Audrey and her mother finally understood. This wasn't just a business dispute anymore. The next day, a single story dominated the headlines. Audrey Miller, chairman of the Miller Group, had taken her own life by jumping from a building, apparently out of fear of the ongoing federal audit. Her parents, upon hearing the news, had died in a high-speed car crash while rushing to the scene. The story of the Miller family was over. My story was just beginning. 6 months later, my wedding to Aria Vance was the social event of the year in New York, making headlines around the globe. I officially took the helm of the Hayes family business. The Miller family has faded into dust. The Hayes and Vance families, under a new dawn, are reaching for new heights.